Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Today we are on lesson 7 of module 1, and our title today is Multiply by Using Familiar Methods. And even though the title says we're going to use familiar methods, some of the methods we use today might not be familiar to you. You might not have seen them before or been taught them, and that's okay. We're going to practice them today, and we'll be practicing them for the next 5 lessons. Okay, our first problem is not about multiplying, but it will get us ready for multiplying. So it says, write the following number in as many ways as you can. And we're actually not going to do it in as many ways. We're only going to do it one way. So the way that I want to write our number today is expanded form. So let's first read today's number. It's 28,741. So since I have a 2 in the 10,000s place, 2 10,000s would equal 20,000. Plus, I have an 8 in the thousands place, which would be 8,000. Plus, I have a 7 in the hundreds place, which would be 700. Plus, I have a 4 in the tens place, which would be 40. And we have a 1 in the ones place, which is 1. So this is the way that we're going to write it because it will help us for the multiplication. So this is called expanded form because the number hasn't gotten larger, but I've expanded it and stretched it out. Okay, for our next problem, it says they want us to use the read, draw, write process to solve the problem. And the problem says, on a typical day, a grade 5 student takes 24,165 breaths in one day. How many breaths will you and 5 friends take in one day? Okay, so what I notice about this is they've tried to do 2 things to trick me. One, they said, how many breaths will you and 5 friends take? So there's not 5 friends or 5 people in the equation. There's actually going to be 6 people. So that's a common trick they'll try to do. Another trick they did is they said grade 5 student. It doesn't matter what grade the student is in because that's not part of the problem. That's kind of extra information to just throw me off and to confuse us. So what this equation is, our problem is actually telling us is we have 6 people. And this is where I like to do some drawings to help me understand the story. We have 6 people, and each of them is taking 24,165 breaths. So if each one person is doing that, that tells me this is going to be a multiplication problem. So I'm going to multiply 24,165 by 6 for the 6 people that we are each taking breaths for. Okay, so I'm using my red pen for you just to follow along, but I'm going to show you 4 different ways that I can multiply these numbers. And some of them you might be more familiar with than others. Okay, the first method I'm going to use is the area model. Now, our new curriculum uses the area model a little bit different than you might have learned in the past. I'm going to continue to do it the way that you've probably seen it before. So in the area model, I take the longer factor, which would be 24,165, and I put it in expanded form on the top of my rectangle. So I have 20,000 plus 4,000 plus 100 plus 60 plus 5, and I take my other factor and put it on the side in expanded form. Now, I divide my box up based on where my addition signs are. So there's 1 there, 1 there, 1 here, and 1 here. And since there's none here, I'm not going to have any lines horizontally. And now I can use kind of my 0 trick or my multiplying by multiples of 10 to make it easier. So if I have 6 times 2, I know is 12, and I'm going to add 1, 2, 3, 4 zeros. 1, 2, 3, 4 zeros. 6 times 4 is 24. And I'm going to add 1, 2, 3 zeros. 6 times 1 is 6, and I'm going to add 2 zeros. 6 times 6 is 36, and I'm going to add 1 zero. And 6 times 5 is 30, and I'm going to add no zeros. Okay, so these are called partial products because the product is the answer to a multiplication problem, but I don't have one answer yet. I have a whole bunch of parts of the answer, so we call those partial products. So now I need to add up these partial products, and I like to put them in order from greatest to least. So I have 124,000, 24,000, 600, 360, and 30. Now, when I'm adding a lot of numbers like this, ladies and gentlemen, I like to use kind of lines to help me so I don't miss any. So that's 0. In this column, I have 6 plus 3, which is 9. In this column, I have 6 plus 3, which is 9. In this column, I have 0 plus 4, which is 4. 2 plus 2, which is 4, and 1 plus nothing. So I believe my answer is 144,990. Now that's the method you're probably most familiar with. There is another method that I'm going to show you that is called the distributive method. And it's very similar in the way that we are going to use expanded form. So this method, I'm going to take one of my factors, and this one works well with a single digit multiplication problem. Notice I'm writing it a little bit different. I'm putting the 6 in front. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this factor and I'm going to expand it. So I have 6 times, and I am going to say 20,000 plus 4,000 plus 100 plus 60 plus 5. So notice it looks exactly like this. We just call this the expanded method, or I expand it, and I'm going to distribute this out. So I'm going to pass out the 6 there. So 6 times 20,000 is 120,000. And I'm going to pass it out or distribute it there. 6 times 4,000 is 24,000. I'm going to distribute or pass it out there. 6 times 100 is 600. I'm going to pass it out or distribute it there. 6 times 60 is 360. And I'm going to pass it out and distribute it there. And I get 6 times 5 is 30. So notice my partial products all end up being the same. So again, this is called the distributive method, where I'm distributing or passing out one factor to the other factor in expanded form. So if I added these, I would get the exact same answer. Okay, another way that I'm going to show you that this can be done is called the partial products method. So I'm going to set up my problem with my longer factor on top, which would be 24,165, and I'm going to set it up this way. So this is something that you might have seen in worksheets, or as your family done it, set it up this way. This is a pretty common way to set it up. So I'm going to say, if I multiply it, always start right here. This is 6 times 5 would be 30. So notice I went to that digit first. Now I'm going to go to that digit. 6 times 6, but let's think about it. Is that really a 6, or is that 6 worth 60? So 6 times 60 is 360. I'm going to go to my next digit. 6 times 1 is 6, but that's not a 1, that's a 100. So 6 times 100 is 600. I'm going to go to my next digit. 6 times 4 I know is 24, but that's not a 4, it's a 4,000. So 6 times 4,000 is 24,000. And then I'm gonna go to my last digit, which is a 2. 6 times 2 is 12, but that's not a 2, it's a 20,000. So 6 times 20,000 is 120,000. Okay, so notice our partial products here. They're the same partial products that we've had the whole time. So in each method, we're getting the same partial products. It's just setting it up a little bit differently. And of course, if I added these, I would end up with my same product. So I'm adding them, and I am getting 144,990. Okay, the final method I'm going to teach you, I'm going to put stars by because this is going to be the method we're going to really focus on. This is called the standard algorithm. This is the method that your parents probably use. It's the method that Miss Munoz uses. And not because it's better, it's actually really tricky at the beginning, but the reason we use this method is once you get really good at it, this is the most efficient method, which means it's the quickest method that can get you the right answer. So just like I did on the partial product, I'm gonna start with this right here. I always start in the ones place of my shorter factor. But I'm going to use a lot of regrouping here. So think about your regrouping and your adding and subtracting. Okay, so I'm going to say 6 times 5 is 30. But I can't put a 30 here because I only can put one digit. So instead of putting the 30 there, I'm going to put it like this. I'm going to regroup or bring the 3 up. So notice the 3 goes there and the 0 goes there. So it's 30, 3, 0. But just like here, I went there first. And now I'm going to go here. And I say 6 times 6 is 36, plus these 3 would be 39. But I can only put one digit there, so I put it like this. So I have 39, 39. So I bring the extra regrouped digit over. Okay, now we're gonna go to the next digit. 6 times 1 is 6, plus 3 is 9. And I can put that there. I don't need to bring anything up because it fits here. Okay, let's go to my next digit. 6 times 4 is 24, but I can only put one digit. So I put 24, 2, 4, 24. And then I have 6 times 2 is 12, plus 2 is 14. So I put my 4 and I go to bring my 1 up here, but since there's nothing there, I can bring it right down. And that is my answer. So if you look at the amount of work I did the same amount of work in my head as I had to do on all of these, but the space here is so much shorter. So that's why we say that method is much more efficient. And this is called the standard algorithm. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, let's try some together. I'm gonna turn our page and we have one to work on as a team. So here is our problem. It says show or explain our work. And it says 4 times as much as 32,157. Okay, so my equation is 32,157 times 4. Now, although I showed you 4 methods, the 2 methods that I think we are going to try to favor in our class this year is the area model and the algorithm. Those are the 2 that we're going to be working a lot on. If you'd like to continue practicing those, that's your choice, but these are the 2 that Ms. Munoz is going to be practicing, the area model and the algorithm. Okay, so we're going to first do the area model with this one. So again, I'm going to take my longer factor and I'm going to put it in expanded form on top. So I have 3 in the 10,000s, which means 30,000, plus 2 in the 1,000s, which would be 2,000, plus 1 in the hundreds, 5 in the tens, which is 50, and 7 in the ones. And our other factor is just a 4. Okay, remember, we divide our box up based on these addition signs. So wherever the addition sign is. And here there's none, so it's not going to go across. Okay, so what do we have? We have 4 times 3 is 12. And I'm going to add 1, 2, 3, 4 zeros. 1, 2, 3, 4 zeros. 4 times 2 is 8. And I'm going to add 1, 2, 3 zeros. 4 times 1 is 4. And we're going to add 2 zeros. 4 times 5 is 20. And we're going to add 1 zero. And 4 times 7 is 28. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 partial products. So what we need to do now is add up our partial products. So I'm going to set it up, lining up my place values as carefully as I can. Okay, and again, I like to draw a line down when I add so I don't make mistakes. 0, 0, 0, 0, 2 would give me 2. 0, 0, 4, and 2 would give me 6. My comma, 8. So I think our answer, our final product is 128,628. Okay, let's set it up now, and now we're going to try the standard algorithm, the new method that we are going to be working on this year. So I'm going to put my longer factor on top and my shorter factor on the bottom. Okay, so I always start with this place right here. And I'm going to say 4 times 7 is 28. But I only can put one digit here, so the 2 has to go up here. So it says 28. Then I have 4 times 5 is 20, plus 2 is 22. So I can have to carry one of my 2's up there. So it's 22. Then we have 4 times 1 is 4, plus 2 is 6. 4 times 2 is 8. And 4 times 3 is 12. And then when I go to carry my 1 up there, there's nothing, so I can bring it down. So let's see what we came up with. 128,628. So both times I got the same product. What I want you to notice about the standard algorithm that's going to be really important is look how careful I was that I kept my place values lined up. It's very, very important that your place values stay really lined up. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, here are some methods to help you, some pages. And on your homework, they give you 4 problems and they ask you show or explain your strategy. I'm actually going to ask that you do at least 2 strategies. So on our homework, we're going to divide it in half. And for each equation, I want you to try 2 strategies. You can choose the 2 that I favor, which are the algorithm and the area model, or you could attempt the partial product or the distributive method. That is up to you. But I'm letting you know this is going to be our focus this year, the algorithm, because this is going to prepare us the most for 6th grade. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, after you finish your homework page at page 45, don't forget to rate yourself, and you may go on to page 46 if you would like. Have a wonderful evening. Good night.